significant differences here in this area. Here we're looking at various areas of communication. There's a couple areas where Gardner is significantly above the national average, one where it's below. Particularly that top one, availability of information about city programs and services. And that one Gardner's 23% above the Missouri-Kansas average, 17% above the national average. So now we'll look at some priorities for investment. And the purpose of this chart is to show what areas should be the highest priority to focus on. And this is really a combination of two questions on the survey. On one question, we asked residents how they would rate their level of satisfaction with each of these city services. And then the follow-up was, which three of these services should be the most important to emphasize over the next 2 years? So the areas you want to focus on are those areas that receive high importance rankings, but at the same time, low satisfaction rankings. So you can see under most important percentage, that's the percentage of residents who felt that service should be one of the most important to emphasize over the next 2 years. And then you can see how they rank. In the column next to that, satisfaction percentage, that's the percentage of residents who are either very satisfied or somewhat satisfied with that service. Then you see how they're ranked. So the overall flow of traffic in the city, that was ranked as the most important service to emphasize over the next 2 years, and it ranked last in terms of satisfaction. So it makes sense that that would be the top priority to focus on. And the second highest priority to focus on, although it's significantly less, is maintenance of city streets and buildings, and that ranked second in terms of importance and fifth regarding satisfaction. Same type of slide. This one is based on various public safety services. You see the top priority here is the emphasis and resources to combat illegal drugs. It ranked first in terms of importance and last in terms of satisfaction. And then the second most important to focus on is public safety education programs. That ranked third in regards to importance and 12th or second to last in satisfaction. This one focuses on city maintenance. Top priority here is quality of street repair services. This was ranked as the most important to emphasize over the next couple of years, and it ranked last in satisfaction. And then there's a couple that are really close together, so we point out both of those top priorities. Snow removal on streets and residential areas ranked second in terms of importance, 11th in terms of satisfaction rating. And then maintenance of neighborhood streets ranked third in terms of importance and 10th in satisfaction rating. So this chart focuses on parks and recreation. The top area to focus on here is walking and biking trails in the city. It ranked first in importance and middle towards the bottom, 7th in satisfaction. And the second most important one to focus on is fees charged for recreation programs, ranked third in importance and second to last in satisfaction. And this is the last of these charts. This one's on city utilities. By far the top one is Whittier chart for utilities. It ranked first in importance, last in satisfaction. And the second most important priority is clarity and taste of tap water in your home. It ranked second in terms of importance, 8th in satisfaction. So other findings. On this question, we asked residents, are weed lots, abandoned vehicles, graffiti, or dilapidated buildings a problem in your neighborhood? Only 22% said no, only 22% said yes, compared to 72% who said no. Here we asked residents how they currently receive information about the city. By far the top choice is the city newsletter. 82% of residents said that's how they currently receive information about the city. Second highest is city website at 40%, Gardner News third at 31%. Now in this question we asked residents how they prefer to receive information about the city. The previous one is how do you currently receive information, and this is how do you prefer to receive it. Top choices again is the city newsletter at 76%. City website was second again at 40%. Here, email notifications was third at 34% was the way they preferred to receive information about the city. I thought it was interesting on the previous chart was towards the bottom, 15% currently receive information that way. And here residents are given a list of various reasons of, to rank the importance of various reasons of why they decide to live in Gardner. See the top choice is low crime rate, 88% consider that to be a very important reason in their decision to live in Gardner. 82% consider quality of life to be a very important reason for their decision to live in Gardner. And here we asked residents, would you be willing to pay more in taxes each year to fund projects that would improve the condition of city streets, sidewalks, and traffic flow in the city? 44% are willing to pay some amount in additional taxes. That includes 8% who would pay $80 per year, 14% who would pay $40 per year, 22% who would pay $20 per year, and 44% said they not pay anything, 12% don't know. And then we asked residents, if a half-cent sales tax is renewed, where would you prefer that the money be spent? 22% said street maintenance, 16% economic development, and then the majority prefer a split between both, and then 18% don't know. So in summary, residents generally feel good about living in the city. We saw those couple of slides. 87% are satisfied with the feeling of safety in the city, compared to only 3% dissatisfied. 75% are satisfied with the overall quality of services delivered, compared to only 4% dissatisfied. And then we're looking at the trends. There was an overall increase in satisfaction long-term going back to 2005, but a little bit of a decrease going back to the most recent survey in 2011. But having said that, as you saw, Gardner still is one of our most highest performing communities. It's still rated above the national average and the Kansas, Missouri average in many areas. The one especially to point out is the overall delivery of services by the city. They are 18% above the national average in that, 21% above the Missouri-Kansas average. And the top two priorities to focus on over the next 2 years will be the overall flow of traffic in the city and maintenance of city streets, buildings, and facilities. So that's it. Are there any questions?
Questions for Jason?
Jason, I have one quick question. It goes back to the survey finding about the rate that residents pay on electric and water utility services. Do you ever see a community that comes back where it's not highly dissatisfied with that?
That's always, anything like that is always a lower rated one. You're talking about, let's go to that. Was that the important satisfaction rating?
Yes, exactly. The highest one obviously was
right.
The rate that residents are paying, what you were charged for utilities.
Right.
Is that almost always number one when you do this chart?
It is, yeah. I mean, it's not something we ask all the time when we do. It's often, always one of the top ones, if not the top one. Yeah.
Thank you.
Sure.
What determines what you ask? I mean, that's a question I would have thought, why would you ask at all? Because it's always going to be negative, but apparently you asked for us, but not everybody else.
Well, that's based on our conversation with the city. I mean, it's not asked as often as some of these others, but we've certainly asked it a lot. And that's just based on the information you're trying to gather. I mean, a lot of these questions are ones we ask over and over, so that way we can provide good trend data, good benchmarking data. But each city, county is different in terms of what information they want.
So who drives that process then? You come in with, here's what we always ask, and then the staff says, we don't want this asked, or we prefer to have this asked? How does that work?
Right, yeah, typically. I mean, especially in, it depends if we've done a survey in that community before. If we've done a survey there before, we look at the most recent survey, then discuss if there's any changes we want to make to it. If it's a community where we haven't done a survey before, then we find some comparable surveys, talk with the point of contact, get a feel for what they want to ask, and give them some examples and start from there.
You send those out to homeowners and non-homeowners?
Yes. I mean, homeowners